Good morning everyone and welcome back to another instalment of our Portuguese barn conversion series.
This video is one that you guys have been waiting for, and also we have as well, because the roof is finally starting to go on the barn.
We're really excited. It's going to make a massive difference to it because having the roof off really does make it look like a ruin. Even though we've done so much building work on it already, I think it's going to really change the look of it.
It is. It's going to change everything, and this is the biggest part of the project, so we're quite nervous but also very excited.
We're the indie project, Bee and Theo, and we've been living and travelling the world in vans for the past 6 years. We're currently renovating an abandoned stone barn in Portugal to turn it into a beautiful tiny home for us and our cat, Ginjey Bear. Follow our journey from the very beginning as we document the whole process of creating an off-grid home.
So right now I'm just nervously waiting for a delivery truck to turn up with the timber for our brand new roof, and I couldn't be more excited because ever since we started this project, the roof has always been a massive milestone for us, and it's the biggest part of the project. It's always one of the most expensive parts as well, so it's a little bit nerve-wracking. And also we have tried our best to say to the company who's delivering the wood that we need a small vehicle to deliver it because it won't fit down the track, and hopefully nothing's got lost in translation and they come on a small truck, because it'll be amazing just to be able to offload the wood directly into the area that we need it. So we've just offloaded all of the wood and the right size truck turned up, which made life so much easier because we could park the truck directly behind the barn where we need it and offload it there, because the ridge beam is absolutely massive. The mezzanine timber as well is absolutely massive, and even the rafters are massive. So it's good that we could get it in a location where it's going to be easy to move. The wood is also gorgeous. I'm so happy we decided to go for chestnut because the grain on it looks wonderful. I can't wait to sand it back and oil it and really bring the beauty out. It's going to be a real feature in this barn. The wind's picking up a little bit and we've managed to tarp over all of the wood over here, and this is actually the wood for the mezzanine and also the veranda. And then over here we have our ridge beam and some other rafters. If I take the tarp off, you'll see how beautiful it is. Look at the grain on that. That's going to come up so nicely, and you can see here it's one fine big chunk of wood.
So I'm just feeding the chickens, and of course Betty has to get up on me because she is my #1 girl and she's getting so big now. Oh, I forgot to say, we did name the chickens. The white one, because she's got green legs, I've called her Sage, and the brown one is called Birdie. And something happened yesterday, something completely and utterly unexpected, and I'm gonna go and show you what it is. So everyone, meet our new addition, who is completely and utterly just calmed down on camera. This is the first time he's actually calmed down today, and he came into our lives completely by chance. It was out of the blue. We have to go through a number of different villages on our way to the nearest city, which is over an hour away. And in one of the villages, this little kitten was lying in the road and he wouldn't move. He just wouldn't budge, so we were obviously worried about him because you do see a lot of strays here and usually they run away. He wouldn't move, so we got out of the car to check on him, and he just looked awful. He had snot running down his face, skin and bones, his stomach's really swollen, so he obviously had worms, and there was no one around who was taking him. I looked up and 2 villagers was telling me to take this cat, take the cat, so obviously we took the cat. And it just so happened that the city we were going to had a vet we could visit who had to put him on a couple of different medications because he is quite unwell. He's only 6 or 7 weeks old, he's still a baby, he's underweight, he's got worms, so when we were there he had a worming tablet, he had a vitamin B injection, he's on anti-inflammatories and antibiotics because he's got the flu. If we hadn't found him when we did, the flu would have gone into his eyes, so he could have lost his sight, and it could have gone into his lungs where he'd get pneumonia and he undoubtedly would have died. So we found him at the right time. Unfortunately, because I know everyone's going to be wondering, no, Ginjey Bear has not met him yet because he's contagious. We thought it would be best, even though she's vaccinated, to just keep him separate from her, and once he's finished his antibiotics and he's all better, we'll be introducing them to each other, which should be interesting because she does get on with other cats, but she also doesn't get on with other cats. So, oh, and I know you're all going to be wanting to know what his name is. For now, I think it's going to stick, isn't it?
Fernando!
We're calling him Fernando. Oh.
I'm just hanging out with my new mate. Isn't he adorable? Look at him. I'm in love. What are you doing? He's mesmerised by the camera.
It's because he can see himself. He doesn't understand it. Is he licking your knee?
I just cannot get over how cute he is, but also how small he is. He could literally fit in my pocket, and we never had Ginjey right from birth. We got her when she was about 3 or 4 months old. She turned up at the vet's Bee was working at, and we just fell in love with her. And we've done the same with Fernando as well. That's a working title name. So if you got any cool names that you think would fit with the indie projects and Ginjey, let us know, because I'm sure you guys can come up with some creative names. But our main priority right now is just to get him fighting fit, make sure he takes his medication, build him back up with food, get him on weight, and we'll see how things go. For now, we're just going to foster him, but like I said, you never know, he might stay forever.
Oh, no. I got that on camera.
So we have just strapped the massive ridge beam to the block and tackle, and we are nearly ready to winch it onto the roof. You might be asking why we're doing this and why we don't just hire a crane, and the answer is we can't fit any vehicles of that size or that nature down the track to get onto the land, which is unfortunate. It's also very difficult to get something like a tractor with a front loader around this area. I've tried, I couldn't find anyone who was willing to take on the job, because essentially you're lifting such a massive beam onto our roof. If it goes wrong, you're going to wipe out 2 walls in one go, and it's not going to be a pretty picture. So we're just taking it on ourselves. Also, Portugal's a very slow going place, so even if I book someone, the chances of them turning up on the day when you need them is pretty much 50-50. So we're going to be doing a bit of bush mechanics over the next couple of days and just figuring it out as we go, slowly, but I'm pretty confident that we got this.
Theo, give it a little nudge up.
Slowly.
Alright Theo. Right up to you.
Yeah, man, that'll do it.
Try and notch it onto there. We're going to have to notch. Ready?
Alright, come on then.
Hey, lovely. Okay, we're there.
We just managed to get one of the sides up, which is a massive relief, and we used some really big timber to support the scaffolding and make sure nothing's going to give way. The timber's much stronger than the scaffolding is, so we should be good. I'm not going to lie, the stress levels are high, but we're doing it. One side's up, we've only got one more side to get on the back wall.
Just put it in the rung where you're comfortable. Or the bottom part is crap. Holy are you going for it, man? Crazy. Right.
Got her?
Yeah.
The end there. Go on.
Things just got incredibly exciting. The ridge beam is officially on the building. It's no longer hanging by a strap or resting on scaffolding. It's on the building, and things need to really ramp up now because the beam's got to get from the wall all the way up the gable, and obviously you just saw how hard it was getting it from the ground all the way onto the wall. It's going to take a lot more work to get it where it needs to be.
How high would you have to go though to do that?
If you give me some stuff to pack this up.
Chuck the wood in there like that, I think.
Put the scarf, aye. Right, you ready for this? You are chopped up now.
We've just managed to get the ridge beam high enough up the gable that we can get the scaffolding in place that we can use the block and tackle, and then the plan is to basically block and tackle to take the weight of the beam and then gently ease the beam side to side up the gable, and hopefully we'll end up on the top where it needs to be.
Keep going, Phil. Leave it there. Lovely, man.
Brilliant. That's great. Okay.
But we can roll it completely, because if you can't see, but from here you just got a little pointy pointy bit. You've got a flat surface, haven't you, pretty much? And you've just got to get over this stone here.
Okay.
So in theory it should
So
work.
we want Kev and I want an iron bar each.
A bar, I reckon.
And you're going to let a little bit of tension off, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Already?
Right, so let me just
slowly, but... Alright, Theo, you have to go up a little bit.
I can believe it, but I can't believe it. It's actually on there. That humongous, massive beast of a ridge beam has made its way, well, with the help of Jack, Kevin and Theo, obviously, finally onto the top of the barn. Well done.
I am drained. Like, I cannot tell you how mentally drained I am. I'm also physically hurting a little bit from lifting big, heavy lumps of wood, but I think the mental drain is a lot. It's quite stressful, but it's up there, and trust me, it's not going anywhere.
No, it's not. And that's the end of day one. Tomorrow is a really exciting day. I'm actually more excited about tomorrow.
The mezzanine.
The mezzanine is going in place.
It's day 2, and before... I've lost it. It's only day 2 and I've lost it. Basically, before we can do anything, i.e. get the mezzanine in place, we need to fill all of these holes up where the mezzanine is going, because otherwise there's going to be big holes behind the mezzanine beam which mice and rats and rodents and just anything could live in, and we don't want that because that's going to be by our bedroom and that would just be creepy. So we're going to fill them all in right now.
More like a...
So that was actually quite a lot of fun. We raced through the gaps. It was actually my first time doing it. Theo's a pro now and knows how to do it. So he showed me the technique of making sure you got the correct swodges and the lime and everything to just whack it all in together. And now that that's all covered up, the beams can finally go in place. And I'm just looking at the wall that they've got to get the beams over. And it's going to be quite interesting to see how they do it. Obviously, it's totally different to yesterday. That beam is absolutely massive, but it's going to be so cool to finally see these beams in place in the actual house. This kind of feels like the first housey thing that's actually happening. Like, it's a bit of furniture kind of. Oh, I'm so excited.
I'm down again.
Okay.
Keep going then.
Yeah.
Ready?
Alright. Right, here we go.
She's on the seaside.
Okay.
Beautiful.
That's close.
Oh, yes.
It's the end of the day and me and Jack have just covered over all of the beams inside and on top of the barn because we don't want them getting wet. Unfortunately, it looks like it's going to rain tomorrow. Not really hard, but we don't want to risk any damage to the wood now it's on the building. So we've covered it all over, and then it's the weekend, and then we're back on Monday, and hopefully we'll get a full week of work done without any rain interruptions.
This is a moment we have been waiting for ever since we wanted to put the mezzanine in. Now, the mezzanine was Theo's dream, and when we first thought about it, we genuinely only thought it was going to be like a little sleeping deck. You wouldn't be able to stand up, but I'm standing on the mezzanine right now, and the beam, there's room above my head, so I can actually stand up here, which is so exciting. Obviously the ceiling does slant, so this is the only bit I'll be able to stand fully, but this is just unbelievable, and the view, because the windows will be there, is so nice. And down below, we were really worried actually that it might really encroach on the space and make it feel really small, but you don't even feel that it's above your head, and look how much flipping headroom there is. Obviously the floor needs to go in, but even so, there's so much headroom, and Theo will even be able to stand up underneath here, which is just flipping great.
And the ridge beam is all the way up there.
It's so huge, like having that on here now. The roof is so high. Weren't we saying it feels like a grand hall or something? Obviously it's tiny.
This feels like a medieval hall in this section, or something out of Harry Potter.
Well, I really hope that you enjoyed this week's video. It started off kind of scary, getting that ridge beam up, but we did it. I'm so happy that it's up.
And next week we are going to be tackling more of the roof, and also we're going to show you guys how Fernando gets on with Ginjey Bear, which is going to be also terrifying, but also quite exciting as well.